I'm very happy about some news that was just announced by Dana White, but before we get to that in the next video, we have to do this video first. UFC Fight Night Baku, Hill versus Rountree, just took place, and I'm going to go through the entire card, starting with the early prelims, ending with the main event, giving my reaction and breakdown to every single fight on the card, starting with the early prelim opener of Mohammed Usman versus Hamdy Abdelwahab. I took Mohammed Usman to win this fight as an underdog. Hamdy Abdelwahab was nearly a 2-1 favorite here, and I said that Mohammed Usman would weather an early storm of power and mass from Hamdy Abdelwahab, and then Mohammed Usman would out tit-for-tat him in the later rounds at range with simple shots and win a 29-28 decision against Hamdy Abdelwahab. And I got it dead on. Absolutely dead on the early prelim opener. Exactly how I said it was going to happen. And Mohammed Usman wins as an underdog. I thought that was very, very bad odds making. And they were looking too much at the record of Hamdy. But there you go. Moving on. Tagir Ulanbekov versus Azat Maksum. I've rewatched this fight. 30-27 just doesn't sound right for this type of fight. Now, I can actually see Tagir Ulanbekov winning this fight. I don't think this was a robbery. I really don't think this was a robbery, but I understand where people are coming from here. And I think the main reason why people are so disgusted by the decision here isn't because they can't see a world ever where Tagir Ulanbekov wins the second and third round. I don't think it's that. I think it's that they don't like the fact that they saw two 30-27 scorecards here for what was an extremely even-looking fight. Unfortunately, the rounds have to go to someone. And the problem with this fight was, it was a lot of grappling. And when there's a lot of grappling in a fight, I mean, you know, Tagir Ulanbekov shot 8 takedowns, got none of them. Azat Maksum shot 7 takedowns, got 3 of them. When there's a lot of grappling in a fight, listen, Tagir had a lot of control time here in moments. That you would win with reversal, end up on top. But either way, there's a lot of grappling in this fight, a lot of failed grappling. So when you see Azat Maksum outdoing Tagir in the grappling with some of the throws that he was going for and takedowns that he was getting and reversing position in the second round, I believe it was, where he just ended up picking up Tagir and ended up nearly on the back of him. There was a lot of moments where Azat wowed you. You know what I mean? And that ended up making you think, oh, Azat's pulling this one away. But Tagir Ulanbekov did land more. But this could have been round 1 and 3. I think round 1 was Azat. Round 3, it's very difficult to predict. The thing is, like, Tagir had like a guillotine that wasn't really a guillotine at the end of the second round, and I can see that being a reason. I give Tagir the second. I think it comes down to the first and the third. And I do think Azat Maksum could have won. Like, he could have won. He was landing good shots. But it was so close, man. It was so close. So I'm not mad at the decision. It wasn't much of anything. Tagir would have lost to Horiguchi, in my opinion. I don't think Tagir's all that. But Azat Maksum's no joke, and Tagir did get a very close decision win against him. But it was just, I think this fight was a lot closer than a 30-27, 30-27, 29-28 unanimous decision scorecard would suggest. This very easily could have been a split decision that could have ended up going either way based on the first and third round. Either way. And also, there were some cage grabs. Eye pokes. We had a lot of them on the prelims. There was some in Hamdy Abdelwahab, Kamaru Usman, or Mohammed Usman. And then we had some eye pokes here with Tagir Ulanbekov. No, I think Tagir grabbed the cage at one point, didn't he, to stop a takedown in one of the rounds. So there was a lot of moments like that were just really bad. That I didn't agree with at all. We move on. Up the card. Klaudia Sygula versus Irina Alekseeva. You know what? I was wrong about both the women on the card. Both the women's fights, at least. Klaudia Sygula dominated the fight. Way more well-rounded. Out-grappled Irina Alekseeva towards the end of the fight as well. And just outstruck her on the feet. Not really too exciting. Round 1 was pretty high pace. To be honest with you, the women's fights actually outperformed the men's fights on this card, which is so embarrassing, other than like Sadykhov versus Motta, which we'll get to, which was an absolutely crazy fight. But this was a dominant performance from Klaudia Sygula. I was wrong about her. I went with Irina Alekseeva. She had a better performance against a similar opponent they both had. And I just thought she looked more masculine, and I didn't really believe in Sygula, but she looked a more technical girl out there, and she mixed it up when she needed to as well and got the takedown in the later rounds and rode out a decision victory, so good for her. Darya Zeleznyakova versus Melissa Mullins. Again, I was wrong. I thought everything indicated Melissa Mullins being the better fighter. And she did get her takedowns, but Darya Zeleznyakova refused to be held down, struck good on the back foot. It was a bloody mess early in this fight. I think Melissa Mullins had blood coming out of her nose very early. Darya Zeleznyakova had some visible markings on her face. But yeah, I don't mind either scorecard here, 30-27, 29-28. I think the third round was close. And Melissa Mullins did get takedowns. I think she nearly had an armbar at one moment at the end of the second round, but Darya Zeleznyakova had better striking on the back foot, and that's what it came down to. So she won the fight on the back foot, landing the shots that she did. And Darya Zeleznyakova, I was wrong about her as well. She got it done. Both her and Klaudia Sygula looked so awful in their debut. Maybe they started trying once they realized, oh, hang on a minute, I'm in the UFC now. So I don't know what happened there, but they became somewhat decent. Yun-Jong Park versus Ismail Naurdiev. Yeah! Yun-Jong Park, dude. The Iron Turtle gets it done. We're seeing some 29-25 scorecards here for the Iron Turtle, Yun-Jong Park. I gave round one to Ismail Naurdiev. He outworked Yun-Jong Park. Landed a lot of better shots on him as well at range. He just seemed like the faster, more explosive guy. However, this was obvious to happen in a Yun-Jong Park fight. When you see Yun-Jong Park lose in the first round, hold on now. You know, this is the turtle in the hair. And the hair ain't going to win the race, okay? Because he's blitzing all the way early. Yun-Jong Park is going to build into fights as they go on. You know? He's going to build into fights as they go on. And he does it every time. And when Ismail Naurdiev, I mean, round two, I think it was, right? Round two, he gets down Yun-Jong Park into like this front headlock position, north-south, and he knees Yun-Jong Park in the head badly and cuts Yun-Jong Park's eye open with a knee. And ends up really badly concussing him up against the cage. And I thought the fight was over. Like, the fight is going to get stopped. This is a blatantly illegal knee. The fight's been called. I mean, you know, Ismail Naurdiev is up on the cage celebrating, not knowing that he's just committed a brutal foul to Park Yun-Jong. Or maybe he was trying to force the referee's hand. You know how Anderson Silva tried to do it against Bisping, when you so blatantly celebrate that you kind of hope the referee will be pressured into just letting it happen so that there's some smoothness. You know, so there's not a big interruption and a big controversy. So he might have tried to force the ref's hand by, like, playing off that he just won. But they watched it back. It was an illegal knee. And he had 2 points taken away. Ismail Naurdiev had 2 points taken away. He also grabbed the cage in this fight. He also eye-poked Yun-Jong Park in this fight. There were a lot of fouls that Yun-Jong Park had to deal with. And I think there were some glove grabs from Ismail Naurdiev as well. So it was good to see Yun-Jong Park put that grappling on him in round 2 and 3. And work him a lot. Even though Ismail Naurdiev kept up in numbers, the fouls were too much and the point deductions were too much. And I think he got 2 points deducted in round 2, which is so good for the referee to do. You know, if you're going to, like, drastically alter a fight with a shot and now the fight has to continue, you got to at least be down so far afterwards because of what you done. So I respected the referee for taking 2 points there. We move on up the card to another fight, which was Seok-Hyeon KO versus Oban Elliott. Oban Elliott, huh? You know what? I just got off the phone to Oban Elliott. He'll be alright, guys. Everything's going to be A-okay moving forward, guys. Just a bump in the road. You know how it goes. Listen, man. So, all jokes aside, Seok-Hyeon KO's grappling was really fucking good. I think it was really, really good grappling. And we've seen Oban Elliott scramble with guys. And he did the right moves here. Like, he would get tripped, and he constantly got hit with that hip check and taken down with a trip or a throw up against the cage. And at a certain point, you were like, you know, he's got hit with that same trip again that Seok-Hyeon KO keeps hitting him with. And Oban would do the right move. Like, he was making... It wasn't like Oban was just on bottom position going, the whole time. He was actively scrambling back up to his feet. But then Seok-Hyeon KO would be on the next position, and he'd be like, all right, now I'll take you down this way. And then Oban would, like, work, and it'd be a minute or two, but Oban would work his way back up to his feet or work his way back to his knees, and then Seok-Hyeon KO's round on the backside, got one hook in, threatening that position. Now he's threatening this. Now Oban's arm is, like, tied up behind his back, and he's got to, like, reset from, like, improving his position to accepting a worse position so long as he doesn't get submitted. So it was just Seok-Hyeon KO leading the dance early. He's called the Korean Tyson. He's an explosive guy, known for KOs, typically. He has a lot of them. And he came out with a really wide stance and backed Oban Elliott up early. And you could see Oban like, this guy's going to want to get the big KO in round 1. That's his thing. So he's kind of on the back foot early. And then Seok-Hyeon was just like, oh, well, if this guy's going to give me this much ground and constantly be backing up, I'm just going to start shooting on him. You know what I mean? Because it's just going with the momentum. Like, he's just going to start leading the dance on what he wants to do. He's not just going to be there winging at Oban, knowing that Oban knows that he's trying to land a big shot on him and then maybe risk getting countered. He's going to mix it up. So that's what he did. Seok-Hyeon KO mixed in the grappling, and the Korean Tyson became the Korean Marab in moments. Out grappling Oban to a decision win. You guys are roasting Oban Elliott. I get it. You're going to roast whoever, backs Jerusalem or, even acknowledges us. I get it, guys. You guys just love doing this. But I know exactly what the deal is, when I start propping someone up. Listen, Oban should have won this on paper, guys. He was a big favorite, and that wasn't because I was hyping him up. I didn't make Oban Elliott a minus 600 favorite against Seok-Hyeon Ko. He's been in the UFC. He's had 3 fights. This is more of an impressive upset for Seok-Hyeon Ko because it was a really impressive performance. A little dull to watch. We had a lot of those fights today where things just weren't getting into the double-digit significant strike area. But that was just kind of the story of the card, to be honest with you. I don't know what was going on over there, but a lot of fighters just wouldn't let go of their shots. But yeah, Seok-Hyeon Ko gets the job done by decision, and that's a big win. He beat a 3-0 guy in the UFC in his debut. So he's going to be right there in the mix, looking for a big name next. Or at least if he gets another win, he'll start looking for a big name after that. So, yeah, back to the drawing board for Oban, but he'll be all right. He's young. He'll be fine. We move on. Up the card, Mohammed Naimov versus Bogdan Grad. I went with Mohammed Naimov. I actually think he won this fight, to be honest with you. I could see a world where Bogdan wins, though. So I don't mind it. I don't mind the arguments of robbery. I just thought Naimov won the first and the third round. I don't think Bogdan Grad did all that much to mitigate the amount of control that Naimov had in the third round. And I don't think that Bogdan Grad did all that much back to Naimov in terms of outlanding him to mitigate the fact that he got wobbled really badly with a wheel kick. So, round 2, Bogdan Grad won the round. Nearly had Naimov. I mean, what did Naimov have? A submission at one point? I can't remember what round it was in. I think he had a guillotine at one point on Bogdan Grad that he didn't end up getting, but he was going for it big time. It was just one of those fights where no one really put the statement on. I mean, listen, we're in round 3, we're neck and neck, we're 1-1 on the scorecards, and the two of them have mustered up 8 significant strikes combined. It was one of those cards. This was genuinely one of those cards where, yeah, there was some decisions going weird, but you almost can't fucking be angry about it because the guys just weren't trying to prove anything. They were letting things go down to the wire so often. So, yeah, I took Naimov to win. He won. I could see a world where Bogdan gets it, but again, Bogdan looked good. It's just Naimov had the moments. That's all it was. Bogdan was outdoing him in the duration of the fight, but Naimov had these big moments where he would land something that got a reaction out of him and, and things changed. I think he landed another wheel kick in round 3 as well. They didn't rock Bogdan, but caught him. Anyway, moving on up the card. Nazim Sadykhov versus Nicholas Motta. So this was a fight. This was a proper fight. We haven't had one of these in months. But this one took me back. This one took me back to a combat sport. I felt like I was watching a combat sport. These two were trying to hurt each other. Now, I know you may think I'm crazy when I'm saying that, but these two are genuinely trying to hurt each other out there. I'm not making stuff up right now, guys. I'm not making stuff up. These two were genuinely trying to hurt each other and go for the finish. Nicholas Motta, round 1, must have took the first round against Nazim Sadykhov. I thought at a moment Nazim Sadykhov was playing rope-a-dope, but took it too far and nearly got the fight called off. In hindsight, he definitely got hurt with those body shots. Definitely got hurt with those body shots more than we anticipated because he left that so close to the wire. The referee was like antsy. The referee was ready to hop in and stop that fight if there was like a few more shots thrown before Nazim threw back. But basically, Motta put pressure on early. Nazim was outstriking him a little bit early. Motta put pressure on, hurt Nazim to the body, and like winged about 50 strikes in a row against Nazim Sadykhov up against the cage. And Nazim was just rolling. It was like Esteban Ribovic versus Daniel Zellhuber. Exactly the same situation, but less shots were getting through, and a lot more of them were hitting the guard. But every time Nazim would start to get his sort of wits back under him and his breath back into him, another body shot from Motta would land and it would reset his little rope-a-dope game that he was playing. So it got very close. But then after that, you saw it immediately. Nazim Sadykhov was pressuring and Motta had just blown, he'd just gone for it. And he'd used up all of his energy going for that finish. Round 1 ended and Nazim's walking down Motta in a situation where you're like, after what you just saw Motta doing, you're thinking, who's round? Oh, Motta's round. But Nazim was doing good. So Nazim still had great moments in round 1. And then round 2, he puts away Nicholas Motta, man, cuts him open badly, starts chasing for the finish. Motta's landing back in moments, but Nazim Sadykhov was too slick moving forward, pressuring him, breaking him, elbows in the pocket, and just tearing it up on Nicholas Motta. Both guys got knockdowns. Nasty shots were getting landed. This was a great fight, back and forth scrap. And it literally was two guys trying to hurt each other. And that's what I miss about this sport. Because so many people love the Merabs and the Ankalaevs, where they're trying to win rounds and people are actively trying to win decisions. And I know Merab just got a guillotine, but you know what I'm saying sometimes. So it was good to see them actively just fucking tearing it up like savages. Like, we rarely see that in the UFC anymore. And this card was a very big showing of that. Like, sometimes these women's fighters are starting to out-warrior the men. And maybe that's a sign of, like, low level. Maybe that's what it is. But, man, I miss it. I miss it when two guys just duke it out. And we got one. That was a great fight. We move on. Maitakbek Orolbai versus Tafik Musayev. Couldn't have been a worse debut for Tafik Musayev. I tried to cover that fart. It didn't work. Couldn't have been a worse debut for Tafik Musayev. He had nothing for Orolbai. I mean, came in swinging. Orolbai immediately gets the takedown on him. And Musayev just... Listen, people are going to say, oh, Oban's takedown defense got fraud checked, or so-and-so's takedown defense got fraud checked, or, Bahamondes' takedown defense got fraud checked. These guys will work their way back up. Musayev was just so easy to topple over and so easy to hold down. It was sad. It was actually a sad, pathetic debut from Tafik Musayev. And Maitakbek Orolbai dominated him in the grappling, took him down a bunch of times, kept taking him down. There was a moment where they ended up back on their feet, and Maitakbek Orolbai was charging in, and Musayev nearly caught him a few times. And I was like, fucking hell, Orolbai, lock in. You're charging in like an absolute tard right now with your chin up in the air. But then he just went straight back to the takedown, got the Kimura, and submitted Tafik Musayev in the first round with ease, with absolute ease, which was just, for an Azerbaijan prospect in his debut in Azerbaijan, that it can't get worse than that. Curtis Blaydes versus Rizvan Kuniev. I had Blaydes winning. And I'll tell you why I had Blaydes winning. Okay, and some people aren't going to like this because I saw a lot of people saying that Kuniev should have won this fight. Kuniev did more damage to Blaydes in this fight. But he did that damage in round 2. In round 1 and 3, Curtis Blaydes won those rounds. He just simply did. And that's something that a lot of people don't like because they see the face of Curtis Blaydes and think, oh my God, well, Kuniev doesn't have that damage on him. And I get it. Kuniev clearly wins the second round. He has moments where he cracks Blaydes with combinations. And it was a really shitty looking fight from both. I think Curtis Blaydes said he tore his ACL in the first round. I don't know what Kuniev's excuse was, but he's morbidly obese. And that's not a joke. He genuinely is medically morbidly obese. That's what we're talking about right now in the UFC heavyweight division. We got this guy taking on number 5 in the world, Curtis Blaydes. He's morbidly obese. I'm not exaggerating. He is morbidly obese. All good, though. But yeah, round 1. This is how I scored it. Round 1, Blaydes, of course, wins the first round. I don't think anyone's in disagreement about that. He outstrikes Rizvan Kuniev. He lands some knees to the thigh. He just sort of drags him around up against the cage. He jailed and Almeidas him in round 1. Then Kuniev starts pulling it back in round 2. After a good start from Blaydes, Kuniev starts landing some shots. Finally, Kuniev's in the fight. And he starts landing some shots in combination on Blaydes and backing him up against the cage and landing some good shots on him. I think he landed a jump knee to the body a few times that he was going for. And that was pretty impressive. I think he saw Blaydes dipping down, looking for his lunging left hook forward. So he wanted to try and time him with that knee up the middle, but it ended up just sort of catching Blaydes to the body twice, I think, in that round. So he caused a lot of damage on the face of Curtis Blaydes in round 2. But in round 3... Curtis Blaydes outlanded Rizvan Kuniev on significant strikes 28-13 and was controlling him up against the cage. It's bad to watch. It was a stinky fight to watch. It was a bad performance from both. Embarrassing performance from both. And if Blaydes did tear his ACL, it would explain why he didn't look as good as maybe he has done before. But he still won. He won the first and the third round here. He won them very clear. Like, I feel like people were watching the third round and just ignoring that Kuniev did nothing in that round. He landed a little bit at the end and went for that jump knee to the body. But other than that, Blaydes, I swear to God, at one point, we're about 2.5 minutes into the third round. And I'm like, dude, Blaydes has landed 15 low kicks on him and Kuniev has done nothing. This whole round. So it's 28-13 on strikes. Blaydes wins the first and the third. Shitty to watch. I get it, but not a robbery and not even a bad decision. Blaydes clearly won. But, it brings into question how we score things. That conversation you can have. If you want to go pride rules and just who did more damage, period, then you can. But no, Blaydes won it based on how we score fights. We move on. Rafael Fiziev versus Ignacio Bahamondes. I went with Ignacio Bahamondes, and this one fucking pained me. This one really pained me. I picked Ignacio Bahamondes to outstrike Fiziev as the fight went on. Fiziev won the first round. They had Bahamondes up on numbers, but I knew it was wrong. I was like, Fiziev's has lower output here, but he's making Bahamondes miss a lot of these low kicks, and he's landing good shots. He's landing better shots with the body kicks on Bahamondes and some of the body punches as well. No one really landed to the head in round one. Fiziev weaving out the way of a lot of wheel kicks that Bahamondes is throwing. Round one's over. Fiziev wins the round clear. Round two, I mean, they gave this every round to Fiziev, and I can see that. But round two, I thought that Bahamondes was starting to run away from it a bit. In the second round, with about 30 seconds or a minute to go, I'm thinking Bahamondes is like figuring Fiziev out. He's landing better low kicks on Fiziev now. He's landing body kicks on him as well. He's landing 1-2s. He's like stepping in with his 1-2 and landing it. And then getting the clinch and pushing Fiziev up against the cage. And I'm like, okay. Bahamondes is like winning round two with about 45 seconds to go. And then Fiziev shoots in on him. And Bahamondes pulls a guillotine. Fails it. Ends up on bottom. Not a good look. And then Fiziev shoots in again. And Bahamondes pulls a guillotine into the takedown. Like, there was no make sure he doesn't take me down. It was like, I'm okay to be taken down. I'll get a submission off bottom because he just got one against Jalen Turner. But I thought he threw away round two at the end with the Fiziev takedowns and with him like accepting them by going for guillotines on them. Rather than fighting to defend, he was fighting to capitalize on that. And he does have nasty chokes from there, but people don't get caught in guillotines at the top level in UFC. They just don't. Unless they're Cyril Gane and they're intentionally throwing a fight for no reason, just so Jones retires anyway. But round two, I thought Bahamondes was getting it, but Fiziev adjusted, got the takedowns. And then round three, I thought Bahamondes was picking it up again. I was thinking, hold on. This is a scrap, but Bahamondes is picking up the pace. And then he starts shooting bad takedowns, and Fiziev gets another takedown on him, and I'm just thinking, fuck, man, he's fumbled it again. So in the last 2 minutes of round three, 1.5 minutes, Bahamondes decides to fumble again. And, yeah, it was just experience thing, Fiziev's, Bahamondes showed that he can strike with Fiziev. That's clear. But Fiziev just knows the tricks of the trade. You know what I mean? When you get to the top and you fight the RDAs for 5 rounds and you fight these other guys, you pick up a couple tricks on how to sneak around off someone and ending up in top positions important. And yeah, Fiziev just showed that he's thinking more well-roundedly now. We needed more of this in round three against Gaethje, a couple surprise takedown attempts. But hey, when it's different, it's a different fight. This was a lot slower pace. In that Gaethje fight, I'm sure Fiziev couldn't even think for a second. In this matchup, it was more of like a slow, methodical, perfect for Fiziev pace, Bahamondes, who threw a wheel kick in elbow range with like 30 seconds to go as well and just ended up on his ass. I mean, I had a fucking rage about that. But, Fiziev won, and I like Fiziev, so I'm happy for him. We move on. Shit fight, though. Very important to mention. All of the fights were shit. We're going to talk about the main event, but I'll talk about the rest of the card first. Usman, Hamdy, Abdelwahab, shit fight. Tagir, Ulanbekov, Azat, Maksum, fun scrambles, but shit fight in terms of action. Klaudia, Sygula, Irina, Alekseeva, women's fight. Yun-Jong, Park, Ismail, Naurdiev, controversy, but shit to watch. Seok-Hyeon, KO, Oban, upset, shit to watch. Mohammed, Naimov, Bogdan Grad, shit to watch, awful fight, no action. Nazim, Sadykhov, Nicholas Motta, great fight, one of the fights of the year. One of the best fights we've ever seen. Well, some of the best round we've ever seen. And then Matek Orolbai, one-sided, nothing really happened. Blaydes Kuniev, absolute dog shit fight to watch, awful. Fiziev Bahamondes, some entertainment, but compared to like other fights of Bahamondes and Fiziev, this was probably one of their most boring ones. And then Khalil Rountree versus Jamahal Hill in the main event. Let's talk about that as well. Of course, it's the main event fight. Yeah, Jamahal Hill, man. I was originally picking Jamahal Hill, but I was just watching his footwork in his fights, and it's just something where I couldn't ignore it. It was such an obvious striking problem that he was going to have in this matchup. I couldn't just ignore it for other reasons. Sometimes I have a hunch about something and I just bullheadedly go for it. You know, like saying I originally thought Hill would win this. But he's going to tough out Khalil. I know he is. Khalil's best win is Anthony Smith. I was saying all of this stuff. But then I was thinking about the low kicks, you know? And I just had to sort of reset and think this is going to be a striking match. They're going to strike with each other. No one's going to grapple here offensively. They're going to have a striking match. And Jamahal Hill plods forward with the same rhythm. And he walks forward as well with his footwork. And he's very heavy on his legs. And Khalil has some of the nastiest low kicks at light heavyweight. I think Rakic would do the same. I think Pereira, you know. I mean, and listen, early on, Jamahal Hill was playing the low kick game well. So let's talk about this round by round. First of all, a shit fight. There was fun. There were moments in this fight. But they were so few and far between. I feel like Khalil would knock him down, and then we was like, all right, we nearly had fun for a second there. Another 3 minutes of nothing. Round 3, I think he hurt Jamahal Hill and still landed 15 significant strikes that round. It's kind of crazy. He dropped Jamahal Hill twice in the second, I think, and only landed 15 significant strikes that round. Like, barely anything happened outside of the UNR moments. But round 1, Jamahal Hill actually made a close round of it. I thought Khalil Rountree won. I thought he landed better body shots, better body kicks, should I say, especially. I think that's what gave him the round. But I think both of them were doing a really good job chopping each other's legs. But then round 2 starts after a competitive round 1, where both guys are hesitant and slow, and the entire crowd has left for the main event. They ain't watching. But round 2 starts, and now we see Jamahal Hill starting to have problems with the foot. I mean, Joe Rogan was edging to this at home. Oh, he's having trouble on that leg. I bet you anything he was saying that while on his, like, machine. You know what I mean? His pedal on or whatever it is. Doing his little workout, sweating. Oh, man, he's having trouble on that leg. Huh? I bet you anything he was amped up watching this one at home. Seeing all of those low kicks from Khalil. But yeah, Khalil shut down Jamahal Hill with low kicks. It was always going to happen. This was, again, something where I had to go against my hunch. And you know I hate doing that because every time I do that, I'm wrong. But for this one, it was like, okay, I understand striking at some level. I'm not a kickboxer by any means, but I understand striking enough to know that Hill's legs are going to get fucking destroyed in this fight. So I actually said that Hill was going to lose this by leg kick TKO. But he's tough. That's the thing about Jamahal Hill. That's what you can't count out. He's very tough, so he sticks around in there. But again, this was another shitty fight where Khalil looked good in moments, and he would have moments where he would rip the body really well and land a couple good shots here and there, and the low kicks, of course, looked really good. But then there was other moments where he'd throw an overhand, and I'd go, oh, that was fucking horrible that you threw that like that. What was the standing hammer fist in round 1 that he went for? And the knockdowns were cool, and he was landing a lot of good shots, and Hill always popped right back up. But man, sometimes I watch UFC and I think, are these the top fucking dogs? These are the top guys in the world to dictate if you're ready for a title shot against the world champion? It was a really sloppy fight from Hill especially. Very, very sloppy fight from Hill. But then again, his leg was destroyed. So, easier said than done. I've always said this about Hill. I picked him against Yuri because Yuri's so autistic that I thought he would just charge in like he normally does. And that's like how Hill can get you on the feet because he's a good counter striker with his hands. But I think against strikers, like proper strikers, I don't see Hill beating them. I just think he doesn't have the same fundamentals as them. I think if Hill's smart, he should look for grapplers. I think Hill has always been a really nasty counter grappler that can then outstrike a grappler that has no choice but to be on the feet with him. He did this to Glover Teixeira, and I know that Thiago Santos is a striker, but he tried to grapple non-stop with Jamahal Hill in that fight, and Hill made him gas out because he was defending the takedown so well and getting back up, that eventually he just ended up beating the shit out of Santos himself. So I think Hill's just a really good counter-grappler, you know. He stuffed the takedown off Jimmy Crute, knocked him out in the first round. He's always dealt with grapplers very, very easily. And other than Johnny Walker, who's just chinny as hell. So, I don't know. If I'm Jamahal Hill, I'm looking for grapplers next. I'm not looking for another striker right now at light heavyweight. Because I think there's some fundamental problems there, man. And it's the footwork, it is. It's the footwork. Even on his rear foot. And I like Jamahal Hill. I think he gets too much hate. At the end of the day, he took all these big fights and risky matchups back to back to back after losses. Like, look what Jones is doing. You know what I'm saying? But Jamahal Hill was like turning his rear foot over. You know when you throw a straight right hand and you go onto the ball of your rear foot and you twist into it with your hips? He was doing that pre-set. You can see what punch Jamahal Hill's going to throw based on his rear foot. If his heel's down, he's throwing the lead left hand. If he's in orthodox, this is. But sometimes he'll go onto the ball of his foot on his back foot and start encroaching in with his back foot on the ball of his foot with his heel pointing upwards and behind him. And you just know, okay, he's going to throw the straight right hand here. It's just, I think Khalil realized that as well. And then they even had a moment after the fight where I think Hill was mentioning something about him backing up the whole time. And Khalil said, you know, you're a tricky guy. I can't get a read on you. I have to, you know, defend myself, you know. So Khalil was just being reasonable about it, I think. And Jamahal Hill had a tough loss. This is 3 in a row and he was a world champ. Like, it's going to be tough for him to deal with. But yeah, I think they should never go back to Baku, Azerbaijan ever again, though. I will say that. You know, they need to know how privileged they are to actually get those fights. You know how shit the fucking cards are that we get. And they go to Baku and they give us Fiziev, Bahamondes, Hill versus Rountree. And listen, the card was shit. Don't walk out on the fucking co-main event. You know how many fucking Americans and Eastern and Western Europeans would have loved to have been there to watch Khalil Rountree versus Jamahal Hill? Loved the opportunity to watch a Khalil Rountree, Jamahal Hill. In hindsight, maybe not. It wasn't that entertaining. But still, in the build-up, these guys are walking out of the event. There was no one in the seats. Everyone was on the standing area and on the floor level of the event and of the crowd, sorry. By the time the main event started, half the fucking arena left. Like two-thirds of the arena left after the co-main event once the Azerbaijan people were done. So you know what? Never go back to Azerbaijan ever again. Never do that charity shit ever again for them. Their prospect in Musayev shit anyway. Never go back there again. Walking out of the arena and giving us apex atmosphere for the main event. Are you dumb? On your time zone as well. UK fans got to stay up till 5 a.m. because it's in Manchester. But they'll adjust the time zone for UFC Azerbaijan. Fuck you lot, man. Walking out. It's like the Brazilians walking out on Glover before his retirement. They don't deserve cards anymore. You lot don't deserve cards. Hill versus Rountree about to start. You've sat through a whole card of shit and you're out because Fiziev got his win. Never go back there ever again. That's it. They're done. Never go back to Azerbaijan ever again. And dump. See you later. Goodbye. Toodle pip. Thank you for watching. I did good on picks. I got the main event right, so therefore I did good on picks. But overall, I did pretty good. Even though there's a lot of upsets and crazy fight endings and outcomes. See you later. Goodbye. Yeah.